Hi, Bob.
Hey, Zax.
Gosh, each one you sound sadder and sadder than the last.
The last one, I'll just be sobbing.
Ooh, we only got. This is the fifth to last episode of season one we're watching.
Well, that should tell you how close I am to breaking.
Okay, so this is episode 9 of season 1 of Creeped Out, and it is called A Boy Called Red. And this was kind of a fun experience. We rewatched this episode with a friend of ours, and I think he was just as underwhelmed as we were.
You said, fun experience.
Yes.
I don't think you should lie to your audience.
I mean, I laughed.
Let's just do this.
Okay, so the curious is wandering down a lonely road,
Mm-hmm.
and the narrator is like, "The curious doesn't have a family. Where's he going? Where did he come from?
Some generic stuff like that, yeah.
Something, something, Cotton Eye Joe."
Yeah.
And then it's like,
I
what if
wish.
what if to be clear, I did steal that joke from our friend.
What?
But he said it when we watched it.
So you're saying you can steal jokes from him, but I can't.
Because I took the wholesome one, yes. We'll get to that part when we get to it.
Well,
Okay.
I'm not gonna steal jokes because I'm not a well, I am a hack. Never mind.
Yeah, you're going to kill your own channel.
Yeah, that's the plan.
Take mine down with it.
Fingers crossed.
Okay. Yeah.
So the narrator
So-
says some meaningless drivel about the curious has no family, and I'm like, great. And then we cut to there's this kid and his dad, and they're pulling up to a house, and it's I guess his dad's childhood home, and living there now is his dad's sister. And we find out their names are the kid's name is Vincent or Vinny. The dad's name is Andrew, and the mom's name is
Sophie.
no,
You said
that's
the
his mom's.
name.
Yeah, that is the mom's name. I meant the aunt's name is
So I have trouble remembering the
Jean
main
or
char-
something. I don't know.
Something like that. See, I have trouble remembering the main character's name because I did not remember Vincent at all, and you have trouble remembering side characters that really don't matter.
I mean, nobody in the show matters. Even the main character doesn't matter.
Yeah. Okay, so right away they give us exposition in the most yikes way possible. The son is like, "What, Dad? What about Mom?" And the
We
dad's
should
like,
call Mom. And
then
Dad's
he's
like, she's the one who sent us away. She can call us if she cares. And I'm like,
"Yikes!
I get it.
Yikes! Oof! This is your son. That's his mom. But also, that's
I
weird
know
too,
this
because
is hard
most-
for you, Dad, but like, it's gotta be hard for him too. So like, maybe chill.
But that is weird because I've always seen, a pretty standard representation of like separation/divorce in shows where, the parents tend to be like, go out of their way to make sure. I mean, it might be kind of inevitable because but they try to do everything they can to keep the child from thinking that it is in any way their fault. But when you lump your son into it, like she sent you away too, kid. Don't
Yeah, she
just
sent
think
us away. Well, I mean, it's kind of a thing of like he's feeling so, I guess, petty that he's thinking, I'm gonna try to get this kid on my side, right? So like she's the bad guy, I'm not the bad guy, etc., etc. But like that doesn't reflect well on him either.
Yeah, so they go into this place, and
His
so they're
childhood home.
moving his childhood home. They're
And
moving in.
the aunt steps out to greet them and addresses him by his full name, which is like Andrew Jablanowski or something like that. And
Well,
it's
okay, which is worse? I mean, I know both are for exposition, and actually, technically, they do both. But because she's like, "Oh, Andrew Jablonski, I never thought I'd see my brother here again." So they do both. But which is worse? Introducing a character by their first and last name, or introducing their like forcing in their relation to you in it, like like when someone's on the phone and
I
they're just
think
like,
really
"Yeah,
it is.
sis."
Yeah, no, I think the expository dialogue is really irritating because it's like this is the first dialogue we're hearing in the whole episode where son says, "Why don't we call mom?" And then after that line, every line after that for a little while is just exposition for the audience. She
I mean,
sent us away. Andrew Jablanowski. Never thought I'd see my brother here before. Here again. Like all of that is just pure exposition, and it's
yeah.
unnecessary and bad.
I mean,
Um.
yeah. I guess
Anyways,
also just. Oh.
Vincent was. Whoa. Did you have something then? What was that?
Oh, I was just gonna say, pretty much like the whole episode, like all of the dialogue is just somebody explaining something because of the nature of this episode. Um, so
And it's
yeah,
not
so
like they
they.
have incredibly complex ideas to convey. It's just that for some reason this episode is very much written as either it switches rapidly between exposition and advertisement, and we'll get to
Yeah.
that. But so Vincent is the kid playing Vincent. Um, Honestly, a terrible actor. Well, I guess I shouldn't say he's a terrible actor. He gives a terrible performance. Maybe one day he'll be a good actor. Maybe one day he'll give a good performance. Maybe he already has. I don't know. But in this role, under this director, I hated his performance. It was 90% dull, not interesting to watch. His lines weren't well delivered. It's not like you saw him looking off to the left of camera for a cue card or something, but like he was supposed to look kind of bummed out that his parents are apparently splitting up, but instead he just looks bored all the time. And when he's not looking bored, he's delivering his lines without a lot of energy.
Yeah. So, okay, so they're in the house, and the son is like, "Oh, hey, dad," and dad walks off. Dad's gonna go do stuff, which is like,
I have things to do, Vincent. Bye.
and through the whole show, like he's always doing something like to the effect of adulting. Like at one point, it looks like he might be like going over taxes and like whatever he's got going on. We don't know what he does for a living, and it's not like we need to.
It
But like
really does
your
seem like a
wife,
child's perception of what an adult does.
yeah, it's almost like if it was like an artistic uh thing, it'd be like we're seeing him through his son's eyes. But this is
Yeah.
creeped out, so that is not what is
They didn't
happening
have any
here.
kind of intention like that, yeah.
It was
But
just, they were quickly like getting props together, and the director was like,
oh, he
"Okay,
needs to
so
do something
remember,
adult and look busy.
yeah, so here's a notepad, here's a bunch of papers, and look stressed out, go."
Yeah.
So anyway, so like he's
Like you
so
half
he's
expect him to be on a conference call or something and just be like, "Oh, business, business, deals, business,
yeah.
you know, with the market the way it is, business, business, like just a
Yeah.
bunch of
Um,
hogwash, trying to
yeah.
cycle
So
new
then,
words into my
yeah.
vocabulary or vocabulary, depending on where you come from.
Zebra.
Zebra. Nobody
Because
pronounces
this
it vocabulary, by the way.
this is a Another British episode. That
Oh
was
yeah.
me. That was the
Um.
point of that. But yeah.
So
Okay.
Vincent's walking around looking bored, and then he talks to the aunt, and the aunt is like, "Oh yeah, your dad and I grew up in this house. You know, you should go exploring." And
And
he's like,
like
and he's
I
like,
let
"All right."
again, yeah, again with the exposition there because it's just like go to the plot in the cellar, and so he goes to the cellar, and
No,
then
no,
I'm
no. You're
yeah.
skipping right over stuff.
Oh,
He
okay.
wanders over to the well.
Right.
He wanders over to the well that's boarded up, and you know how kids love wells. Right?
I mean, to be
kids
fair,
love them.
I've never seen a well. If I saw one as a kid, I think I'd probably go check it out.
Well, anyways, as he approaches the well, I'm not gonna argue with that. His dad comes running out of the house, screaming, "Get the heck away from that! It's dangerous! Why would you do that?" And the kid has no reaction. His acting is flaccid. His acting is boring and dull.
And
The aunt comes in and says, "Hey, don't yell at him. I told him to go exploring." And I'm like, "Good on you, aunt. But like, can this kid look like he's maybe not a corpse today?"
But then the dad is like, I saved my son from the well, I'm business. And then the aunt looks at the son, who's deadpan. Who's being deadpan.
Like, it's
He
not
was
even
dead-
like,
he
he's
was
not even
dead.
looking like hurt that his dad yelled at him or kind of like shaken or anything. He's just looking
exactly-
bored.
He looks exactly as he's always looked. And then the aunt is just like, don't be too hard on your dad. You know, he's never been the same since
Oh
he
yeah,
lost
he
his
has a
friend."
stutter when he shouts at this kid, and she says, you know, he's not been the same. I heard a stutter in his voice. He's very clearly stressed out. I haven't heard that stutter in a long time. He's just really messed up about this well because he had a friend named Red a long time ago. Exposition. And his friend fell down the well and was never seen again. And that really broke something in him. And I'm like, Jesus. Yikes.
Yeah. Okay, so then he continues his
Boring exploration.
yeah, and he goes to the cellar.
Yeah.
And
And what does he find down there? But I mean, we all know what this is like, right? We all know where this is going. You go down to the cellar, you see some boxes, you see a glowing orb with lightning shooting out of it. You find some of your dad's
What was that last thing you said?
you find some of your dad's old stuff.
The back of it, yeah.
Oh, the glowing orb?
Yeah. You kind
Yeah.
of brushed over that.
Well, so does the episode. They don't try to explain where it comes from at all.
Yeah, no.
Even by the end, they're like the most explanation we get is a single person's wink, which is not an explanation.
It just raised more questions for me.
Yeah.
So anyway, I don't know.
He finds his glowing orb.
Okay, now maybe I'm just a weird kid, but if I say that thing, I feel like my go-to. Maybe I'm just like a daddy/mama's girl or whatever, because I feel like I would run.
Now
to
hang
the
on.
doll
Dad's
and-
very busy.
Well,
Dad is very, very busy, okay? Let's, on the count of 3, we'll both say what we think we would do, okay?
okay.
1, 2, 3, go to the
Tell
aunt.
someone.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so we would just go tell someone.
Yeah.
So if there was
Or-
an orb of ball lightning in the basement, you wouldn't immediately reach out and touch it?
And this is the happiest he's looked so far, because he has this like look of whimsy as he like touches it and it shocks him and he's like, "Whoa, wicked!" And it's like,
Yeah.
hey, dumb kid, why is this
Why did
the
you
first
decide-
time you emote?
Yeah, why did you decide? Why the director was like, all right, I want you to not act. Like, I know normally acting is when you put yourself in the character's shoes and try to pretend you're them and embody those emotions. I want you to not do that. Throw all the acting lessons you've ever had out the window. I want you to just board. And then when you see this lightning ball, instead of calling for help, I want you to be excited to touch it. And then he is.
Well,
and I guess
what
in that way, he was right on point with what the director asked, I would assume.
So
Anyways, he
what
goes back
happens when
upstairs.
Oh yeah, okay.
And when he goes upstairs, he looks around and he's like, oh, I guess I'm in a different house, which is a totally normal assumption to make because now we've seen that the color grading in this episode is different. The filter is a little different. It looks a little bit more nostalgic. Huh? You catch you picking up what I'm
Yeah.
putting down? It's a time travel episode. So
Yeah.
he goes into the living or he's standing at the doorway to the living room
Well,
and he
I
sees
don't think he knows he's in somewhere different yet until he starts seeing different people.
yeah, maybe. I'm not
I
really
think he
sure.
thought he was just coming. Cause
He's looking around thinking this looks weird. But cuz he's looking around with curiosity, but I don't know if he realizes where or when he is.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter. He certainly doesn't realize when he is. Either way, he's looking in through the doorway.
Yeah.
And I didn't mean that as a joke. That's just true. He's looking in through the doorway and he sees two kids. One of whom is a little girl who's wearing glasses that are very akin to his aunt's glasses. And the other one's a little boy with a stutter. And the two of them are, well, the girl is standing around watching the boy play a video game.
Well,
Asteroids, to be specific. And then she decides, they have like a small conversation and she decides to storm out of the room. I don't know how angry she was. I don't remember.
he was like, "Get out of here! You're gonna mess me up." But
Yeah, something like that. She goes, "Oh, I'm fine," and she walks out of the room, turns right, and then the stairs are on her left, so she goes up the stairs. But she walks right past Vincent and says nothing, even though he's a complete stranger in her home. And I was thinking when I first saw this, like, oh, maybe she can't see him, like maybe he's a ghost in this, and he's gonna be able to change things, but nobody can see him or something. And then he walks into the room, and the kid who was playing the video games turns around and says, "Oh, hey, who are you?" So it's like, okay, my theory's shot. I don't have a clue why she couldn't see him.
Well, kids are very, very self-involved. So she was just
Self-involved. They have their blinders on. They have tunnel vision, basically. If you're not within like a 2-degree cone in front of each eyeball, you can't be seen.
I do believe she had to change direction though, not to bump into him. So I don't know.
I mean, she definitely had to. She has to go through the doorway. He's on her right. She turns right to go around him, and then turns left to go up the stairs.
Yeah.
So she would have had to pass him.
Yeah.
And then he steps out into the doorway again. Anyways, so he's playing this video game. He's playing Asteroids, and then Vincent looks down and he sees a magazine, and it says that the date on it is the 3rd of July, 1985, and he goes, "Oh, I've time traveled." And this kid sitting in front of him has a stutter, and he's like, "Oh, that's my dad." And like they go through a lot of different ways to try to confirm this for you. Like he's like, the kid's name is AJ. You see that on the leaderboard, the high score list. And he's like, "Who's AJ?" And he's like, "Oh, that's me." "And what does AJ stand for?" "Andrew Jablonowski," or whatever. And we're like, we get it. Yeah, he time traveled. And so,
But then he's like, "That's my sister," and
he's like, "Who was that girl?" "That's my sister." And it's like, oh my gosh, we get it.
I think they go through a few more. But at that point, Vincent is just like stumbling back, and he's like, "Oh, what?
Yeah,
no, it couldn't be."
He's horrified. "I can't go back in time. I won't get any cell service." And so he runs downstairs and he finds the orb of light. And right? No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
It's
yeah,
in
he
a different
immediately-
spot
he's
in the
like-
basement, but he does find it, and he touches it and he goes back to the present. And it's like, great. Fantastic. I don't know why, like,
then
whatever. Either way, I thought initially that all of this happened over the course of a day, but you did make the point that he changes clothes, so it must happen over the course of at least a week.
Yeah, something like that.
Which is fine. That's not really on the show. That's more on me.
Yeah.
Because, that's just what happens. So then he decides the next day or whenever he's gonna go back, and he goes down to the cellar, and sure enough, there it is. There's the orb of light, and once again, he just reaches out to it with a big old grin, and
Well,
he
he knows what's
returns.
going on. He knows the tea now, so it's fine.
Whee! So, well, I mean, I'm just kind of annoyed that he didn't have any emotion before. Um,
Yeah.
and so he goes back and he sees his dad. And if you couldn't tell, I'm running out of steam here already because this episode has a lot of filler.
So it's okay. So I'm just gonna come in and I'm just gonna. I think I can kind of just like race through a bit of this and we can just kind of discuss afterwards.
Uh,
Because I don't. There's some detail, but it's not super relevant. So basically, he's gonna keep going back and forth hang out with his dad when he's young and that's fine.
yeah, past
Um,
that.
Past dad. So second time he goes to hang out with him, and he's just really cool. He's like, "Hey, strange kid who's most likely squatting in my family's cellar, hang out in my room." And he learns that his dad likes Star Wars in the 80s. And they have that in common. And apparently he didn't know that his dad liked Star Wars. He literally knows nothing about his father.
Yeah, and it's a little weird how he's like, "Who's your favorite character?" He's like, "Oh, I like Han Solo." And then the Vincent goes, "Oh, you're gonna hate what they do to him in the most recent one." And then he's like, "What do you mean the most recent one?" And then they just drop the subject. And I'm like, I wouldn't drop that subject.
Yeah.
I mean, like, even if you were in the present day, if somebody hadn't seen The Force Awakens and they said, "Oh, my favorite character is Han Solo," I'm not going to say, "Oh, you're going to hate what they do to him in this one." Because, like, rude.
Yeah.
You're basically spoiling the movie.
Yeah. There's really no. I honestly, just like a mini, apparently what we do at Creeped Out is we're gonna just teach y'all how to be human. I guess last time it was how to be a proper party guest. This time I guess it's how to not ruin media for other people. I don't really think you should give too much detail in even your experience. Honestly, like
Unless they're cool with spoilers.
yeah,
Like, sometimes I'm cool with spoilers, actually. I don't really mind getting spoilers for things.
Yeah.
But
even so,
I'm not most people aren't in that, aren't on the same wavelength as me on that.
yeah, like I don't really like spoilers unless I know I'm most likely not gonna see it.
Yeah, I mean, I
Anytime
saw
soon.
Cats and I told everybody about it because nobody else is going to see Cats except for when I
Yeah.
force them to watch it on Netflix later.
But like,
Or on the Blu-ray when I buy it.
but a lot of people know that I don't like spoilers. Like, let me just be clear on how adamantly against spoilers I am. Unless I'm like at the movies and there's no way around it, I will not watch a trailer for a movie at all. I strictly hear that this movie is coming out by like word of mouth, or I happened upon like a Google headline that like announced that it's coming out. I will not watch trailers because
I didn't know that.
Yeah, they spoil everything. Like
That's true.
Like they give the whole gig away. And I started this.
Can I say real quick one last thing about my Cats experience? I timed it. If you're planning on going and seeing Cats in theaters, you have 27 minutes of trailers before the movie actually begins to like just be late to the theater.
Okay.
There were 27 minutes of trailers, which is
Okay.
astonishing. I could have watched an entire episode of another TV show and then had 5 minutes.
Yeah. But yeah, okay, so I do not like spoilers. And people know that I don't like spoilers, but they still find ways to ruin my life. Okay, so I just one example. Whenever if you don't like spoilers and someone says, "Oh, can I just tell you one thing?" No. I think you should literally. I've now learned you need to
It
just
should be
get up
illegal,
and
yeah.
go away. You
Yeah.
need to just stop talking to that person forever. Because okay, so like, I just finished watching Tangled the series season 2, and season 3 is like airing right now. But it's not on
I've
Disney
seen a couple
Plus yet.
episodes. Can I tell you one thing?
No, and like okay,
Oh,
okay,
okay.
but now here's something. My roomie knows how I feel, and she's always still spoils things for me. But like in this, she hasn't even watched it yet. She just saw stuff online, and she's just like didn't even ask if she could tell me one thing. It tells me anyway. She's just like, oh my gosh, I saw this one spoiler, and you're not even going like you're not gonna be able to handle it. Don't tell me that. Cause now I'm thinking about stuff and like shows can only be so original. I'm already probably thinking up what's gonna happen, and you ruined the gig.
Can I little devil's avocado here? You do have a very silly face when you're upset, so maybe they're doing it to make you upset.
Or they could just stop and like me.
Yeah, but I mean, like, when you're upset, you look like all fussy, and you're like, I'm a grumper. And, like, that's fun. For us, not for you. But it's fun for us. But I don't see your face most of the time. So I don't get to see that. I think if I saw your face more, I would spoil more things to see you get grumpy.
Okay, so they're talking about this. He just ruined Star Wars for his young dad. And then he's like, he takes out this pack of gum called Jubs.
That doesn't happen yet.
Yeah, it does.
Does it?
Yes.
What about the leg cramp?
That didn't happen yet.
Oh, okay.
Oh, wait.
I thought the leg cramp happened at the same time as Jubs.
No. Okay, no, okay.
It doesn't matter. None of it matters.
Okay,
just tell it the way. There are some events that might be out of order, but who cares?
Okay, the important thing to remember is he keeps going back and forth. Anyway.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, you're right. Right. Okay, so first he goes, and this is what happens when I think about spoilers. It just ruins the whole gig. Okay, so first he goes back to the past, and his young dad is playing asteroids, and he's watching him, and he's like, oh, what you doing? And then he's like, leg cramp, you gotta take over for me, grab the joystick. And then he's like, oh, the controller. And
no,
like,
he doesn't say it like that. He says it in a way that makes me think they were trying to go for a weird innuendo, but like only half-heartedly. Because he goes, grab the joystick. And then the kid's looking in pain, and he looks at Vincent, who just stares blankly at him like, what do I do? And then thinks for a second, and then goes, oh, the controller. Which makes it seem like he was thinking something else, but I don't understand how this is anything. I don't even understand how even if it's not a very in poor taste innuendo, we're still talking about a kid who doesn't know what the word joystick means, even though he's from the modern age where we still have video games with joysticks.
Yeah, and
like it's not this esoteric word that he's never heard of.
That's true. So he does that, and then he plays the game, and then the leg cramp passes, and he gets up, and they start just talking, and then he loses, and he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry," and I'm like, "Well, don't be sorry. I mean, he was distracting you." So then they go upstairs, and they do the whole Star Wars bit,
thing, yeah.
And then he takes out some gum, and he's like, "Oh, I love this stuff. Can't get enough of it. You want a pack? I've got tons of it." And then
he hands him.
Right.
He's holding out, and the way they hold it out, and they really want us to see that it's Jub's brand gum, and the way they show the Jubs, multiple times through this episode, they show Jubs like it's an advertisement for Jubs. I don't know if Jubs is a real brand. If it is, this is awful. Oh no, I think Jubs might be a real brand. Jubs. Taste the past, protect the future.
So he goes back to the present, and then his dad is just sitting on a couch, looking at a picture of his wife, looking just so
Well, he's
sad.
looking at the
And
call screen for on his iPhone. He's getting ready to call, but he's just like wiping tears away, looking at a picture of his wife, just being sad. And I'm like,
then
man, being an adult is gonna be so hard.
and then, and so then Vincent goes up to him, and he's like, "Dad, we want some gum." And he's like, "No." And he's like,
No,
"Dad."
Vinny! I mean Vincent! He's like making a big deal out of how he can't call him Vinny for some reason.
And then he like, I don't get, maybe that's what his mom called him. I don't know. They don't tell us. But then
Yeah, that might be it, but it's not stated.
but then but then
He says
finally
Vincent is too old for nicknames, which is like, I'm 27 and I still go by Bob.
I mean,
And also, there are a lot of people with nicknames until they die.
well, anyway. So the son keeps persisting, and the dad's like about to, like, I don't know, smack him across the face or something. Who knows? Because he's like,
Yeah.
how many times do I have to say no gum? And it's like, okay, he like literally, I exaggerated. He just like said it like 3 times. Like, come on, Dad, like you'll really like it. I tried it. It's really good. He turns
Which
out
is
the
like
corner
still
of
a
his eye.
weird thing to say about gum.
I mean, I remember when I was a kid, I tried to get my dad to eat some gum, and he was just like, I don't really like gum at all. And I was like, kind of bummed out because I don't know why. I really wanted him to have a piece of gum.
Yeah, but you
Why?
weren't a time traveler.
That's fair. But anyway, he yeah, I couldn't rig it to get his favorite.
And you
gum.
weren't boring for the first 10 minutes of your life.
So anyway, so then he turns around out of the corner of his eye. He sees like the jubs, and he's like this like sparkle in his eye, and he's like, oh,
And it really,
Richard.
like, there's like this gentle, soft focus on the son's face and the dad's face and the hand holding the Jubs, and it really, really feels like a Jubs commercial. Like, you half expect it to freeze frame on the hand holding Jubs, presenting the logo so you can read it clearly, and you half expect to hear a voice come over and say, Jubs, the gum that will bring your parents back together, or something like that, because
Yeah,
it's
it
like
definitely-
preposterously advertising.
It was ridiculously Folgers-esque, I think.
Yeah.
So yeah, okay. So back to the
Like, the
past.
dad is all stressed out, son is all stressed out, he hands
Oh.
the piece of gum, they both chew gum, and suddenly they're at peace.
Yeah. So
They've got smiles on their face, they love each other. The family is whole again. Thanks, Jubs.
So then, he goes to the aunt. And he's like, "You need to tell me everything about that well." And then she's like, "Oh, I don't know that much, but like I was trying to set a world record too." Oh, by the way, the dad, when he was obsessed with asteroids, he wanted to break the world record, which was like 41 blah 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 million points of asteroids. And
Yeah.
apparently some kid almost died playing for days straight. Which is funny when you think about like how people were so surprised at that whole like Fortnite scandal or whatever, that kids wouldn't stop playing. But like that's just apparently what kids do since the beginning of time. Who would have thought?
By the way, just so you know, that world record of 41,336,440 is apparently still the world record.
Oh. Well, yeah, technically, I guess it would have to be because, like,
Oh, no. No, it isn't. Originally, well, no, it still wouldn't have been when this episode came out. Because it looks like in 2010, someone beat it by 300 points. Whew. It took him 3 days continuously. Yikes.
well, nerds.
Hey! I'm proud of that guy. What's his name? Let me get his name. That way we can really give him the publicity he deserves.
I mean,
John
yeah.
McAllister in Portland, Oregon.
Why does that sound like such an Oregon thing to do?
Wow.
I'm just kidding. I don't care. I think it's cool that he did that. Anyway, so yeah, so he's like, "Tell me everything you know about the well." And she's like, "I was trying to set a record 200 jump skips in a minute." So she's jumping rope and looking out the window.
In the living room.
In
The
the
perfect place to jump rope.
Yeah. Oh,
You don't have
but like,
anything that a rope can strike and potentially knock off a wall or a table or
well,
maybe just
yeah,
wreck.
like
You're basically
honestly,
throwing a whip around the room.
well, I mean, even if she's not gonna break anything, she's standing so close to the ledge. Like, no wonder you keep having to stop because, like, if you don't like hit perfectly, you're gonna snag like the ledge over and over, and it's gonna interrupt your flow. So, like,
Yeah.
go outside, whatever, maybe. And like, so anyway, so then there was like this, his friend Red.
Yeah, he
So we
decides to call his friend Red. He
but we
decides to call Vincent Red.
at this point, no, wait, we're not there yet.
Really? Okay.
No, not yet. We just know that this boy is Red. We didn't.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Well,
Not that it
we
was
know
a
that.
we
Vincent
know.
doesn't know that yet.
Yeah, Vincent doesn't know
So,
that he's
for some
Red.
reason, they're still trying to pretend like this is going to be a plot twist later.
Who
Because
else
Vincent's
is-
going to look like, I understand, like later, which is like,
but like, it's really weird because like it raised wait everything that they think is explaining something just made me have questions I didn't know I had. So then, okay, so she's like, she looks out the window and there's this big flashing light, and then all of a sudden, the young dad is like standing over the well, like no, and he's
no,
never
he
been
fell
the
in,
same.
Mom, help me, yeah.
And he's just his life unraveled from there. Yet somehow he got married and had a kid and moved
Well,
out
no,
to
his
a
life
small
unraveled,
town.
and that's why he got married and had a kid.
I guess so. Well, that's
Yeah.
true because then we go back to the past and he's like playing like a Evil Knievel or something, and he's like I don't. And then oh my god, this was so funny. Okay, because like granted he knows that he's talking with his father in the past,
Right.
but his young father does not know that he's his father in the future.
Hey, hang on.
And
I know where you're going. We should explain the red thing first.
they didn't do that yet.
That happens in this scene.
No, that was in the. They were watching TV when they have that. He's not there yet. You keep trying to get there. We're not there yet.
Really?
Really,
I thought it was like when they're playing in the. Okay.
They're right now. They're in his room playing Evil Knievel. You're thinking about when they're downstairs watching TV.
Okay. I guess they. Yeah. Okay.
This episode flashes. It goes back and forth so much, but yeah, you're not there yet.
It goes back and
So-
forth so much that I got all confused. Whatever. So
he's
yeah,
like-
they're sitting there and he's talking about like he's like, oh, my dad's such a nose bone. He's not even cool. And he's like, what's so bad about your dad? He's like, oh well, he's kind of stubborn like you. Vincent says to his father in the past,
And then
and he's
he's
like,
like-
I like him already. And I'm like, okay.
But then this gets
Ha.
weird because
It gets super weird
then
because he's like and well, Vincent's like, well, being stubborn isn't a good thing, and he's just like, what do you mean? It's never been a problem for me before. And then AJ, kid dad, says, or he asks like, what do you mean? And Vincent says, maybe sometimes you should just like talk things out so that you don't just get angry and bottle it up. And then maybe mom wouldn't have left you.
Yeah, your
or like
wife
he's
wouldn't
like
have
your wife
left.
wouldn't have left you. Something. Like he just like lashes out at this kid version of the dad, and the kid AJ just goes, I'm not getting married, and just kind of brushes it off. And I'm like,
he's just
what?
like, that's one thing. Apparently, we're supposed to, like, I forget what the city's name or the town's name that they're in right now, but I guess the thing is that there's, like, nothing there because he is just so happy to have a friend that he dismisses all these red flags.
Yeah.
Red flag 1, probably squats in my cellar.
Mm-hmm.
2, lashes works out his problems with his father by yelling at me.
Well, not just that. Accuses me of being his father.
Yeah. Well, because then he gets
That's not a normal way to do it.
Yeah. Oh. Well. Then he's Oh, you know what? You were right.
Huh?
I gaslighted you. You were right. the red thing already did happen.
So you're telling me, once again, I'm right and you're wrong.
Yeah.
Okay.
So okay, so a while ago they were like
So
watching
he's sitting there setting up the
Wars,
thing, setting up the game or whatever, and then he says,
well, no, he
he's,
says they say
it
that.
doesn't matter. It happens at some point. He's sitting there they're talking to each other, and he says, "Why don't you go do this thing, Red?" And Vincent looks at him like, "Red? Why are you calling me Red?" And oh yeah, they were playing some game on the. It doesn't matter. Then he says, "Well, because you've got eyes like the Emperor from Star Wars," and at this point, I have to say I'm kind of irritated because like the Emperor's eyes are very distinctly yellow, and he never wields a red lightsaber, and he's wearing a black cloak and shoots blue lightning. So the color red is not really associated with the Emperor from the original trilogy. Now he does draw a lightsaber, a red lightsaber, in different situations at other points in the series that hadn't come out in 1985. So the Emperor is just not associated with the color red.
Yeah.
And so I don't it's very irritating to me that they went through the trouble of writing this line in when it doesn't really make any sense.
Yeah.
Either way, the kid's called Red, and Vincent suddenly has this like, whoa, brain blast! I am suddenly understanding that I was the one who, in his childhood, fell down the well, but like, what? It turned him into a crazy person, I guess. And
yeah. So then going back to where we were, the kid's about to go get some, because now he's like, oh, well, I can't fall down the well. I just don't go outside and then it'll be fine. And so he's going to like set up the game again. He's like, oh, the thing went out the window. You go get it. And so Red Vincent is like, oh no, you go get it.
Yeah. You set it up last time. I'll set it up this time. You go get the thing and bring it back, and I'll have everything set up.
Yeah. So then he's starting to leave, and he turns back, and he's like, what does he like to do, your dad? And then he's like, oh, I don't know. He's like, well, maybe if you do something with your dad that you both like to do, it'll be good. Okay, I'm gonna go.
Maybe he'll talk to you more. Or maybe he'll be friendly. I think he says maybe he'll let you spend the night. But like obviously he's saying like your dad will be nicer if you do something with him that he likes.
Yeah.
And this kid, like a dope, suddenly realizes that's true, which is like, doy, that's always been true for everyone.
Didn't you already learn that with Jobs?
Haven't you learned that throughout your whole life? People like you more if you do stuff that they like with you.
Yeah, so then back to the present, he goes through the cellar and he finds the old asteroid, Atari or whatever thing, and it has like this little break at the top, and somehow he fixes it.
It just looks like the plastic on it is busted. It doesn't even look that broken.
Well, somehow he sets it up, and his dad
he
fixes it, and his dad is in the kitchen doing business.
Business. Oh, I'm an adult. The business.
Sets the Atari on the table, and he's like, "Dad,
look what I found, Dad." And Dad is like, "No, get that away." Oh, and he looks at it like it's a big old tin of Jubs because his eyes are like almost watering with how like I haven't seen this guy in ages. Yeah. Oh, geez, yeah, maybe we should play something. And the kid is like, I heard from Aunt Jean that you never beat the world record, and the dad is like, yeah, I never beat the world record. Yeah. And so they start playing. And they're going for the world record.
And so then we flash it. I guess a lot of time has passed. And Vincent, it's been kind of a lot to just watch his dad playing for a while. So he starts nodding off. And then his dad shakes him like, hey, Vincent, look at the score. Look at the score.
And it's like 41,300,000. He's very close to the world record. Which, by the way, having just read an article about a kid, a guy, he was 27 when he broke the record, who broke the record in 2010. That took that guy 3 days. So either the dad sat there for 3 days with his son, or They
Well,
just they don't care or know anything about this.
well, I want to know two things. Can you pause asteroids? Because I'm assuming not.
Not on the
Um,
Atari. You've only got one button and a and a joystick.
oh, okay, so you cannot pause. Okay, well, I guess that's a good. If they were tag teaming, and it's like, okay,
Well,
you
you might
sleep,
be able
I
to pause
sleep.
it in some way.
I mean, I'm assuming not, but like, there's two of them there, so if it's like, okay, you take a nap, come back, we'll switch off. Like, you could do it, which I guess is makes it a little less impressive because you're kind of cheating it. Um, but all right. So and then like the game stops, and they're like, oh no, like did he lose or whatever? But no, the game just blacked out to let so it could pop up and be like top score 42 million, which like doesn't seem like a thing to me.
Yeah, and
But
also, real quick, I just want to say, it's a little bit weird too because you would think that the score is on screen the whole time. So after you beat 41,336,450 points, after you're at that number plus one, you would immediately know you've beaten the world record. Before you've still got another 6,500,000 points to get before you hit 42 million points. So there's tons of time in there for you guys to celebrate. Heck, you could I'm guessing probably what happened in the real world case where he beat the record, he probably played until he was just over it and then immediately dropped the controller on, I beat it, who cares? Because it's, at that point, he's playing 3 days long without sleep.
yeah. So then, yeah, so they did it. All's right with the world. He fixed his dad. He's going back in the past. And he's like, hey, you want to sleep over now?
Also, I'm reading through that article about the guy who beat the record again. He couldn't pause. The way he took breaks to go to the bathroom and just generally pace the room and like do stuff was he would rack up a bunch of lives and then just put the controller down and go do that stuff for like a minute. He gave himself like 60 seconds to go do that, and he would just die over and over because nothing was like nobody was avoiding asteroids. That's a risky move. But yeah, no, there's no pausing.
Okay, well. Oof. I think he peed in a cup.
No, he went to the bathroom and almost lost because he was down to 2 lives right there at the end.
Oh, wow. Yikes. Okay. Well,
Yeah.
anyway. News. Uh, okay, yeah.
Anyway,
all
so they
that
beat
go-
42 million, and the
Yeah.
dad is like, we did it. And the son is like, well, actually, as they're approaching 42 million, the son is like, we'll get there together. And I'm like, no, you won't. He's been playing the whole time, and you've been sleeping.
Yeah.
The whole point of this was you were trying to forge a stronger bond with your father. The least you could do is be as awake as he is.
As someone who, not often, but sometimes has a little bit of trouble staying awake, I don't think that.
Zax, you've fallen asleep during this series.
Yeah, you're not gonna let that one go, are you?
I'll never let any of them go. But if I was your dad and you were trying to forge a better relationship with me, I'm pretty sure you would try your best to stay awake.
Well, I guess that's why I'm glad that my dad falls asleep too.
Yeah.
So I'm fine.
Anyways, so
So,
they
okay,
beat
so
the 42 million.
He goes
And
back in the past again. Next we see, and the kid's like, "You need to let me ask my parents if you could stay over or something." And then he sees something, and he go, "Well, young dad."
he sees
goes
out in
inside
the, yeah,
to
Vincent
ask if he
sees in the
can.
garden that the orb of light has moved out there and it's getting weaker. It's getting smaller and less electric or whatever. And he's like, oh no, it's getting weaker. And he knows this is the day that Red supposedly fell down the well, and the orb of light goes into the well. And then he's looking down into the well thinking, well, if I drop down into the well, he'll probably,
Yeah, he's
I'll touch the
like-
orb and to go back to my time. But if he sees me fall into the well, then he'll be shattered forever and be the terrible person that my father is. Which is like, his dad doesn't seem like that bad a guy, but he
Can
is.
I just say real quick, like this whole narrative, like not that it doesn't fall apart at several other points in the story, but like, okay, it's not like he saw a kid fall down a well and go splat. He saw a kid fall down the well and no longer exist. There's no trace of this kid. There's no proof that this kid ever existed.
Yeah.
So, real life, he's spending the rest of his life with like red line walls and connecting dots trying to trace this kid. And
Yeah.
like, he's.
That's a mystery that'll never get solved.
Yeah. He doesn't have time to get married and have a son.
Yeah, and then when he does have the son, for some reason, he doesn't recognize the kid.
Yep.
Even though I would think if it was such a formative, well, I don't know, such a formative event, but it was earlier in life, there are lots of people I met in life who I only barely remember the faces of, so I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyways, he decides not to jump down this well, and the orb of light disappears, and he goes, "Oh no, I'm never going to be able to go back to my time." And the kid is like, "Well, Mom said you could spend the night," and then he goes, Vincent says, "Oh, I yeah, okay." And he starts heading towards the house, and AJ runs into the house, and when AJ's out of the scene, suddenly the orb of light reappears, very conveniently behind Vincent, and Vincent says, "Actually, AJ, I should probably go home," and hugs AJ and says, "We're best friends. Bye," and then turns around and touches the orb of light, and AJ doesn't see it, and he's back in the present day. And when he reappears in the present day, he's standing out in the garden, and he turns around, and is his aunt standing there?
Yeah, and she's like smiling at him, like
Yeah, and I'm like, did you know? What is this? And then
Well,
he goes
then,
inside,
yeah.
and his dad is cooking a roast dinner, and he's like, "Oh, Dad, hey," and Dad is like, "Yeah, how are you doing? I hope you're doing great. I'm smiling now because I'm not angry or anymore."
Well,
and
then
Vincent goes like,
he's also
"Wait,
cooking, and he's like, "Oh wait, but Dad, you never cook." And he's like, "What are you talking about, weirdo?"
I always
then-
cook." And then he's like, "Well, wait, you've set out a plate. You've got one extra plate. Who's that for?" And then his mom walks into the room, Sophie. And he's like, "Whoa, my parents aren't actually breaking up." And to me, I'm thinking, oh, wow, the power of Jubs and time travel to bring a family back together.
Well, okay,
it's
well,
really sad for all the kids who are watching this who have parents breaking up, who don't have the ability to go back in time
Or by
and
drugs.
untraumatize their parents to prevent their parents from breaking up.
So, well, no, because this raises so many questions. Because okay, one, also the aunt winks at him at the end, like, "What do
yeah.
you know? That's weird." I'm
Yeah, what
confused
does that
too.
mean?
What is up with this light orb? Because apparently it existed to traumatize the dad in one line and then untraumatize him in the next. But if this orb just didn't exist, this wouldn't have happened. But
Like her winking
needed
makes
to
me
happen.
think she's somehow involved with the light orb, but at the same time that means that she knew what caused Red to exist in the first place, which is what caused her brother's life to be terrible.
Yeah.
And then
but then also
now she's changing it, but not telling the person whose job it is to change it that they need to change it. She's just hoping he'll make the right decisions that'll end up
this
doing
time, I guess it's going to keep happening anyway, either way, or maybe it won't this time. I don't know. But then what's also weird is that the dad's like, when he's like, "Dad, you're cooking. That's unusual." And the dad's like, "What are you talking about?" Which now this kid, if he's like what, 13 or something, there's 13 years of his life now that are totally different.
Yeah, like realistically, apparently everything he knows about his dad is just different.
Yeah,
And
like
chances are there's a lot different about him. Like, I mean, he's lucky that Sophie's still his mom, but like, what about all the kids at school? What if he probably has a completely different life on that in that regard? And I guess it's good that his parents are together, but like basically everything he learned about social situations and dealing with the individual people is basically useless now.
yeah, it's all yeah, because it's confusing because the dad because like they live in this house, I guess they all live in this
Maybe
house now, but in the beginning they were coming back to this house and the dad was like, I couldn't wait to get out of there, but now he couldn't, so realistically he wouldn't have met Sophie because in this time he wasn't traumatized, he wasn't in a rush to get out, he didn't leave.
I mean,
In this
I thought maybe they were
universe,
just visiting, but it doesn't really make a difference. It's still like there still should be tons of ripple effects, and
yeah,
there are apparently some, but the show doesn't really explore how they make any sense. Either way, at the very end of the episode, we get the curious, and you see him, his usual thing. He's picking something up and putting it in his bag. This time, he holds up a smartly unwrapped pack of Jub's gum, and he sticks it in his bag to go advertise it somewhere else. And the narrator goes, does fate exist? Can you change your future? Something, something. And I'm like, again, the message of this is really muddled and also really depressing for all those kids who wish they could get their parents back together. Because it's
yeah,
basically saying if you don't have access to time travel, your parents aren't ever getting back together. And in fact, it's kind of your fault.
yeah. Well, that's one to grow on. So, my stats on the show have not changed. My least favorite is still Shed No Fear, and my most favorite is still Marty. And this is
My
just
least
sort of
favorite has
somewhere in the
become
middle.
this episode
Okay.
because it's so boring and bad. I will say the kid who plays younger version of Dad is actually he does a pretty good job in the
He's so
episode.
adorable.
He's definitely got more charisma than our main character kid. But overall the plot is just kind of dull and very predictable.
Yeah.
There's one piece of trivia on the wiki, and it's just that this is the only season 1 episode not to feature an antagonist. And then there's a sub point to that. This is the only episode of the series overall to not feature an antagonist. So, yippee.
Although I speculate that the aunt is an antagonist because she's just causing trouble for no reason. Most likely.
Yeah, maybe she's some kind of evil, like, pixie or something, taking the
Oh.
form of a...
Yeah. Well, who's to say? But okay. We made it through this episode. Next up
4
is
more?
episode. Yeah, 4 more. Countdown to Breaking Bob, and
For a second, I thought that was the title of the episode, and I was like, really? That's very, on point.
that's the episode for you. So next up is episode 10 called Something, and yeah, thank you guys.
See you, yeah, whatever.
Thank you guys so much for listening.